Welcome to another episode of Purpose Today. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson, and I'm very excited that during this episode, I get to share with you resume strategies that deliver results. So if you want to know the secrets to crafting a winning resume, you want to know the different effects that will get you noticed, and you want to know the essentials of a resume, you don't want to miss this episode. Today, I'm going to talk about how many candidates are making the mistake of highlighting all of their past experience. They've focused on highlighting all the skills that relate to their experience instead of focusing on their desired purpose-aligned outcomes. We're going to also talk about how you can use the FACSA model to ensure that when you're writing or revising your resume, you have the right approach to ensure that you have a resume that will get you the interview. And we're going to also talk about how you shouldn't be only showing the relevant, that you should only be showing the relevant facts that relate to your purpose-aligned outcome, and also how you have to give the consideration to the applicant tracking systems that may be in place when you're applying for an opportunity, because many humans are not doing the first review of resumes. You don't want to miss this episode of Purpose Today. I'll be right back after a few sponsor announcements. Today's episode is brought to you by the Purpose Professionals community in collaboration with Purpose Today Global. If you're a professional who is intentional about ensuring that you are aligning your profession with your purpose, this community is for you. The Purpose Professionals community is available on School and helps professionals who are intentional about aligning their profession with their purpose by pivoting professionally to pursue their purpose, by developing professionally, by growing their career, by purposely aligning their business, and also helps professionals to network with other like-minded professionals. If you're interested in joining the Purpose Professional community or identifying additional about information, scan the QR code that is on your screen. Welcome back to Purpose Today. I'm excited to be the host of Purpose Today, and I'm also honored to have the privilege of leading Purpose Today Global LLC, an organization that exists to both help professionals to align their profession with their purpose or their business with their purpose without wasting time and without sacrificing their target salary. Organization also exists to help organizations to enhance their talent acquisition strategies, their succession planning strategies, and their workforce development strategies to achieve optimal organizational outcomes. Now let's get right into it. I talked a little bit about in the intro about the mistake that I see a lot of professionals making, and they're making the mistake of including all of their past information in their resume, regardless of whether or not those skills, the experience, regardless of whether or not that experience and those skills, whether or not it aligns with their purpose-aligned outcomes. And that's a grave mistake. So you want to be sure that you sit down, you're introspective, you're reflective, you think about what is the outcome that I want that aligns with my purpose. So let's just say that you're someone who's transitioning from a career in intelligence and national security into a human resources career. Well, those are two very different and very distinct careers and career paths. And I'm using this as an example because I myself have done that, and I've helped other individuals transition from Intel or in other national security related positions to careers that don't relate to that. And so what you have to think about is, what is it that you desire to do? What is it that aligns, with your desire, with your purpose? And then you have to identify what's needed for that. And when you identify what's needed for that, you have to ask yourself the question, what within your experience is transferable? What within your skills are relevant from what you've done in the past to where you're going, to that purpose-aligned outcome, that purpose-aligned career. And so those are the only things that you're going to focus on when you're looking at experience, when you're looking at skills, when you're looking at you're going to continue to find opportunities that don't align. Then the next thing that you can do is you can use this model, the FACSA model. And this is a great way to help you to enhance your resume, to form your resume. So first, it's focusing your resume on the right information. I talked earlier about ensuring that the information that you're including is information that is relevant to your purpose-aligned outcome. So you're focusing the information on that. And then you're also ensuring that you're articulating it well. And then the next one is the appearance of the resume. Is it easy to identify different sections of your resume? Does it look visually appealing? If a recruiter or a hiring manager looks at it within that first 6 to 10 seconds, would they be drawn in and inspired to continue reading? So you want to make sure the same type of letters are in bold. And then you want to use the right keywords that are relevant to your purpose-aligned career, your purpose-aligned outcome that you have. Then you want to make sure, like I said before, whatever transferable skills that you have and whatever accomplishments you have that are relevant to the new opportunity, whichever position that you'd like to get promoted into, your resume. And you want to also focus your LinkedIn profile in the same manner. And again, only show what is relevant. Only show the relevant facts that align with the opportunities that you're seeking, the opportunities that align with your purpose, that align with your desire. And then you want to consider, whenever you're submitting, a lot of companies are using ATSs for that initial review. So you don't even have a human that is initially looking at the resume. So you want to make sure that you're considering that. You want to make sure that that is the focus of your resume. You want to make sure that that is what you're looking at when you're submitting your resume, and review it to make sure that that is what you've highlighted. And if that's not what you've highlighted, then you want to ensure that you're making those changes before you submit your resume. That is crucial. Now, I'm going to just talk about a few more things before I end our session today. And this is going to be an abbreviated live. And we'll do a part 2 to resume strategies that deliver results on next week. So I'm just going to talk to you about some things that you can do to stand out from other candidates. This is very, 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 very important. You know, a lot of candidates who are applying for similar opportunities may have some of the same skills that you have. So you want to ensure that you're highlighting your unique skills. What unique skills did you gain from projects and prior opportunities? What unique skills did you gain in volunteering that you've done in your community, or that you've done at a school or wherever you volunteer? So you want to ensure your unique skills from all environments is highlighted, and that you're highlighting the visible successes that you have. Now, you can choose whichever model you want to choose for those visible successes. You can use the challenge action results method or the CAR method. You can use the context challenge action results method or the CCAR model. You can use the situation task action result method, or you could use the situation obstacles actions and results method. Whichever method, you want to make sure the successes are visible and that you're putting both quantitative and qualitative successes in the experience, and all of your experiences should be accomplishment-based statements. Now, if you want to also have some notable accomplishments listed secondly, like 2 of 3 of those, that's fine, but all of your experience should be accomplishment-based statements. You also want to make sure that you're showing social proof and social validation. So on your LinkedIn profile, include any endorsements that you have people giving you there. Any achievements, any awards, highlight that on LinkedIn. If you've given presentations at organizations, show video clips of that on LinkedIn and give a summary of what you covered. Because a lot of organizations are going to look at your LinkedIn profile and other social media profiles before they invite you for an interview. Then you want to make sure you've done your due diligence to look at what is expressed, what is implied in terms of what's required for the opportunities that you're seeking that align with your purpose, and ensure that your resume is covering both what's expressed and what's implied. And then finally, if there are any gaps, once you've looked at what's expressed and implied, if there's any gaps when you read your resume again that's not covered, go back and ensure you're including that experience that you have to cover the gaps that you're reading in your resume. I'm not talking about position gaps. I'm talking about gaps of information. And then go back and look and see if you're using the right layout or the right resume type for what you're wanting to highlight for your purpose-aligned outcome. Now, if you're applying for an opportunity that requires over 15 years of experience, chances are you want to list the experience before the education. But if there's a positive education requirement and more weight is on the education, maybe you want to list the education before you list the experience. But choose the layout that's necessary for what you're hoping to achieve. And you may need to use a functional resume instead of a chronological resume. Maybe you need to use a combined resume. And then finally, I want to talk about some essential components of an effective resume. Now, again, I talked about this a little bit, but your formatting needs to be clear. That's in the appearance that we talked about under FAFSA. So make sure that your resume is easy to read. Make sure it's very well organized. Your heading should be in bold font, and then you should have bullet points that are clear and concise that include qualitative and quantitative action-based results, as I talked about earlier. Strong action verbs are imperative, and having that powerful language is critical within your resume. And so every experience should start with an action verb, and it should show impactful results, both qualitative and quantitative, as I talked about before. And then you want quantifiable achievements so that you can show that you have measurable success. How did you help the company to save money, create efficiencies? How did you help the organization transition from archaic systems? Include numbers that demonstrate those accomplishments, and then ensure that you're including relevant experience and that your background is tailored for each opportunity that you're applying to, and you're focusing on the relevant skills and information that relate to the vacancy announcement, both expressed and implied, and then looking at your professional and summary to make sure that it's at the top, it's compelling, you're introducing yourself to encourage the reader to keep reading, and that your summary highlights those unique qualifications, skills, and accomplishments that you have. So that's all that we have time for today. I hope you'll take the time to view part 2 that we're going to cover next week. I so appreciate you tuning in for this episode of Purpose Today, Resume Rewrites for a Purposeful Career Pivot. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson, and I'm just so excited that I was able to present this information to you. And I hope you'll tune in next week where we'll talk about part 2, resume strategies that deliver results, here on Purpose Today. This special episode, again, brought to you by Purpose Today Global and the Purpose Professionals community that you can identify on School. Thank you so much for tuning in. Scan the QR code to join the Purpose Professionals community or for more information. And anytime you're watching any episode and you feel that you need to pivot professionally, but you don't know how, send us an email at admin@purposetoday.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Purpose Today. Look forward to seeing you for part 2 next week.